In this video, I'm going to be taking this panoramic image, I'm going to print it onto this panoramic paper, and then I'm going to mount it into this panoramic frame. So before we get started, let me share with you a bit of background on my printing experience. I bought my Canon Pixma Pro 10S printer back in March when I visited the photography show in Birmingham. Why did I buy the printer? Well, I just thought printing would be fun. I thought it would be something interesting and exciting to do, and I could extend my skill sets as a photographer to include everything from capture all the way to final output. Now, I can still use labs and I can still have external companies print my work, but I just wanted to have that immediacy of being able to print the work at home. And so far, it's been a really great experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed printing off my work. I've really enjoyed the fact that I can go out in a shoot, take a picture, come home, edit it, and print it off. It's not about whether it's necessarily cost effective or I can do it better than a lab. It's just the fact that I get to do it and I get to print it off and I get to put it up on my photographic wall. Over the last 9 months or so since I started printing, I've only used Canon's own paper. Now this has made the printing process relatively straightforward. I go into Print Studio Pro, I select the paper type, the profile is there already, so when I hit print, what comes out the printer matches what's on the screen. But there are more than one manufacturer of paper and there is more than one paper type. So what I've done is I've ordered 2 sample packs of paper from a company called PhotoSpeed. I've got an A4 pack and I've got a panoramic pack. And in each of those packs there are a variety of different paper types. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print off some of my favourite images on some of those different types of paper to see how the output changes. Now, it's not my intention to review these different types of paper. You know, I'm still relatively new to the printing game, so I probably don't have the necessary experience to give you a proper review of these papers. This video is just more about me sharing my experience of printing on these papers and seeing what the final output can be. So why don't we get started? Let's load up an image, put some paper in the printer and hit that print button. So the first image I'm going to print off is going to be the panoramic image. Let's take a look at the paper pack. Okay, so here we have the PhotoSpeed Panoramic Test Pack. Each sheet of paper is 210mm by 594mm and it contains sheets of luster, gloss, smooth pearl, 2 different types of platinum and a smooth cotton paper, and there are 4 sheets of each. Let's take a look inside. First thing you'll notice is there's actually a pack of A4 sheets in here. Now this is of the same paper type, if I can get it out. And what you use this one for is you can actually print a test page that PhotoSpeed provides to you. You print it on this paper, you send it in, and they create a custom ICC profile specific to your printer to obviously give you the highly accurate results. I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm just going to use some of the default ICC profiles that they have for a Canon printer, which I think should give me the results that I'm looking for anyway. But this would be definitely something I would look into later on down the line. Now, before I actually touch this paper, I'm actually going to slip on a pair of white cotton gloves, which of course makes me look a bit silly, but it stops me transferring any dirt or grease that's on my hands onto the paper. Because if we're going to make the time and effort to create a beautiful print, we don't want my grubby fingerprints on it. On the back of each page, or sheet I should say, it tells you what the paper type is, so if you need to identify which paper it is. There are some interesting papers here, particularly some of these smooth cotton textured ones. But the paper I'm going to print on first is going to be their PF luster paper. And this is kind of the cornerstone paper type that PhotoSpeed offer. It's suitable for all different types of images. So I think as a starting point, this kind of semi-gloss paper is going to be the one that I'm going to start with for my first panoramic image. Let's get this loaded into the printer. Now that we've got the paper in the printer, let's take a look at the frame. Now, this frame came from a company called Picture Frame Express. I will include a link to their website in the video description below. This is a custom frame and it's designed to work with this particular paper. So the internal size here matches the dimensions of this paper. Around the outside there's a 20mm wooden border. If I flip it over, within the frame there's an MDF backing board, and then there's also a backing card here which is acid free to protect the image, and then there's a plexiglass here, and it's covered with protective film at the moment, which I'll remove once I've put the image into the frame. Now back to the front of the frame, I did have the option of having a bordered card within here. The minimum dimensions on any one side were 20 millimeters. So if I was to keep the same aspect ratio as a print, that would have been 20 at the top and the bottom, but it would have been about 50 to 60 millimeters at the sides, which didn't look very good. Now that I could have kept it 20 on all sides, but this would have meant I would have had to crop some of the image, or some of the image wouldn't have been visible from the page, and I wanted to make sure that what I printed is what was seen in the frame. So in this instance, I've not gone for a bordered card inside, but I did for the A4 version. So when we do the A4 print, I'll show you what that looks like. But other than that, this is ready to take a image, and we've got our paper ready to be printed on. So let's jump onto Lightroom and get the image ready for printing. Okay, just before we start getting the image ready for printing, a quick note on my monitor and color calibration setup. So I've got the monitor brightness turned quite far down. It's set for 120 candelas per square meter. And I also use a color monkey display to color calibrate the monitor. This is a relatively straightforward process. The device itself is relatively inexpensive, but the results it gives me mean that my prints and what's displayed on the screen are fairly accurate. I don't do any print calibration at the moment. I don't have a device that's capable of doing that, but as I noted earlier when we were looking at the papers, Photospeed do offer that service where I could print a test page, send it in, and then they could send me out a custom ICC profile. But like I said, I'm going to just go with the default profiles and my color calibrated monitor setup, and I'm pretty sure that's going to give me accurate results. So the first thing I need to do is to get the correct ICC profile for the type of paper that I'm using. Now Photospeed provide generic profiles for the different paper types for various printer and ink combinations. I'm on the page for the Canon Pro 10 printers using Canon ink. From here I can see the PF Luster paper type, so I can download the profile for that. I'll just click on that and that will download for me. It also tells you the print settings to use when using the generic profiles. So I can see for Canon I should select best photo or the nearest equivalent setting, and for the paper type which is semi-gloss, I should be selecting Canon semi-gloss as the paper type. So now that I've got that file downloaded, let's install it into our system. So I've extracted these 4 files from the zip file that I downloaded from the Photospeed website. The file I'm interested in though is this ICC profile. Now it's really easy to install, certainly in the Windows world. I just right hand click it and I click on install profile. Now that profile is now available in Print Studio Pro and Lightroom and any other printing application that I might want to use. So I'm in Lightroom now and I'm looking at a smart collection of all my panoramic images. I use keywording a lot in Lightroom, so it was easy enough for me to create a smart collection to identify all the panoramic images in this book catalogue. Now the image I'm going to print, or I've selected to print, is this panoramic image I took of Glencoe and the mountain book I collected more back in February of this year. To do that, I'm going to leave the original image intact and I'm going to create a virtual copy in which I'll apply a custom crop to that will match the dimensions of the paper that I'm going to use. That way I'll be able to clearly see what's going to be included on the print and what's not. So to create that virtual copy, I just right hand click the image and select create virtual copy. I then go into the develop module and then I click on crop. I'm just going to enter a custom set of values. So in this instance it's going to be 594 by 210. And then that gives me the correct crop ratio for the paper that I'm going to use. So I'm now just going to adjust this image and adjust the size of the crop to fit my needs. Now that I have the image cropped the way I want it, I'm back in the library module and I'm going to open up Canon's Print Studio Pro. So just go into plugin extras and select Canon Print Studio Pro. So now I just need to tell the Canon software how I want to print this image. So I've got the printer selected. The media type is semi-gloss as stated on the Photospeed website. The paper size, I've already entered a custom paper size already and I've named it Photospeed Panorama. As you can see, then that changes what I see on the screen here to match the paper size. I entered that just by clicking on the custom button and saving that as a
preset. The paper source is on rear tray. Print quality I want to set to high. The printer profile, I want to select the luster profile that I installed a few steps back. I'll click on that. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to size this image to fit the entire width of the paper. So to make sure that that image fills the page, I'm going to click on layout, and at the moment you can see it's set for bordered, but I'm going to get the image size height here, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the right. That also increases the width. And now I've got the image filling the entire page. So I'm now ready to print my image. I'm just going to double check all the settings are right, and I'm going to hit the print button. The software also gives me a final chance to review all the settings that I've got, so I'm just going to check through all that. That looks fine. I've got the luster paper selected, semi-gloss, and I've got the correct paper size. So if I hit OK, we'll make that print.
So here we have the final image, and I have to say it looks pretty amazing. It was pretty cool watching one of your panoramic images get printed out in front of your eyes on some panoramic paper. The final output is really good. There's lots of detail that I can spot in this image, you know, from the textures on the ground and the dustings of the snow, and the areas of the mountain. And I quite like this luster paper, this kind of semi-gloss finish. It really suits this image quite well. I'm really looking forward to actually trying some of these other paper types in this format. But for this image, let's get it put into the frame. So we've got the image in the frame now. There's only one last thing to do, and that's put it on display. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me make that panoramic print and put it into a frame and then onto display. As you can see, there's a little bit of effort involved in doing that, but for me, that is time well spent. Nothing more satisfying than creating your own image, then printing it out, putting it in a frame, and then putting it on display. For me, definitely time and money well spent. Obviously, I got a few things to learn about printing still, so I noticed that there was that white border on the final output. But interestingly enough, when I put it in the frame, I couldn't see that white border, so I need to do a little bit of work and investigation in that area. One thing I definitely need to do is I need to go out and create more panoramic images. I don't do them that often, but this has really inspired me to go out there and start seeing with a wider view, create some more panoramic images, and then try some of those different panoramic paper types. But this is not the end of this video. I'm now going to have a look at the papers that are in the A4 test pack. So I'm going to find one of my recent images, one of my favorites, and I'm going to print it maybe on 2 or 3 different paper types and on the original Canon glossy paper that I've got as well. I'm just going to have a very quick look at how the image looks on the different paper types, and then going to select my favorite and I'm going to put it in a frame. What I'm not going to do though is take you through the entire printing process again. It's pretty well exactly the same as it is for an A4 sheet as it is for a panoramic sheet. I download the ICC profile, install it, I then go into Print Studio Pro and set everything up. So I'm going to jump on the computer. I'll come back to you in just a second when I've got all those images printed off. So the image I've decided to print is this one of Brentall Church on the edge of Dartmoor. As you can see, I had a really nice sunset, plenty of colour in the sky. The papers I've used to do the prints, starting on the left hand side, the first one is a Canon Pro Platinum glossy paper. Then the next 3 are all from the PhotoSpeed test pack. So I've got Pro Smooth Pearl, PF Satin, and then I've got the matte ultra fine weight on the right hand side. So I'm going to take them off the shelf and have a look at them in a bit more detail. Now I have to apologise, you're viewing this on video and also the lighting in this room is not great, so you might not be able to see the things that I see when you look at it on the video, but I'll do my best to describe each paper. So here we have Brent Church on Canon's Pro Platinum glossy paper, and the results are exactly what I would expect them to be. I've been using this paper ever since I bought the printer, so I'm familiar with the kind of output. It's very accurate. What I see on screen is what comes out in the paper. The colours are bright, punchy. It's everything you want from a glossy photo paper. And here we have Photospeed's Pro Smooth Pearl paper. Now I don't know if this is the particular paper type or the fact that I need to get a custom ICC profile, but the colours have come out quite muted in this particular print. I'm not sure why that is. Like I say, it could be a profile issue or it could just be an attribute of the paper. And now we have Photospeed's PF Satin. Now I really like this. The colours are very similar to what they are with the Canon glossy paper. They're bright and punchy, but that semi-gloss appearance adds a really nice aesthetic to the print. Finally, it's Photospeed's Matte Ultra paper. Now again, I really like this one as well. The colours are again bright and punchy, so I'm getting consistent output from these papers with the exception of the Pro Smooth Pearl paper. There's obviously no sheen in this at all, being a matte paper, and I really like the effect. It has kind of maybe darkened the image a little bit. It's not quite as bright, but that's probably because it's a matte paper and not reflecting as much light. So perhaps I might increase the brightness in the Print Studio Pro software just a little bit, just to take into account that non-reflective surface. But in terms of aesthetics and the final output, it's really nice, and it's going to be a hard choice to either pick the matte or the satin paper to put in the mount. So having a look at the image and all the different paper types again, I think the one that I'm going to put in the frame is going to be the satin image. I just quite like the semi-gloss effect, and I like the bright punchy colours. Now that's not to say that I wouldn't use the other paper types again, it just happens to be that for this particular image I think it looks really good on the satin paper type. So let's get it put in that frame. So I'm just about to mount the image into the frame, but you'll notice unlike the panoramic frame, I have got the white border here. It's 20mm on every side, and it just sits into the frame there like that. So the frame is actually slightly bigger than A4, but the image print itself will sit on this frame and it will overlap just by about 1mm on all sides, but that should give me a really nice effect. Well, I do hope you enjoyed that video on printing. I certainly had a lot of fun creating all those prints and putting them in frames. Now, it wasn't my intention to review any one particular product in this video. It was more about me just sharing my journey as I discover more about printing at home. Now, if you want more information about the products that I used in this video, I will include links in the video description below, and I'll also include some information in the blog that will be associated with this video, which will be a link again also in the video description and at the end screen at the end of this video. So if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I do try and read and reply to everyone's comments. I really do appreciate anyone who takes the time to watch one of my videos and leave me a comment. Now, if you want to see more content like this, please do hit that subscribe button, and of course if you click that bell icon, you'll receive a notification as soon as I post up a new video. But until the next one, I'll see you then.